All right, looks like we're ready to go. Do I need to call the agenda meeting to order? Okay, so I'm going to call the October 8th, 2024 agenda meeting to order. And we'll get started actually, I think, with Jordan again. We can just say it. Quick attendance for agenda meeting. All of our board members are present. And do we want to skip Jordan's for now? Oh, good Lord. I did the same thing. I thought I did. I got it. All right, we'll start with Public Works.
All right, the first resolution is a tentative resolution to authorize a shed easement agreement at 248 Mohawk Trails. I believe this one's finally going to move through. We have, the applicant has a permit in with the building department, and we've reviewed their proposed shed within our drainage easement. If Elena doesn't have the information, I will share it. I
don't have it yet.
I sent it to you a couple months ago, but I'll send it to you again because we were waiting for him to do the permit.
Usually I get a copy of the permit application from.
I can do that then.
Okay.
The light was on. Sorry. Okay. The next one is a tentative resolution to authorize a fence easement agreement for 1905 Union Street. This is one that we've had on the agenda for a few months too. It's a property that put a fence up in our sewer easement, and we're trying to go after the property owner after the fact to get an easement agreement with them. If we get the information that we're trying to get, I'll forward it along and we'll have the resolution. The next one is a tentative resolution to appoint a maintenance worker. Currently have 3 openings in the water and sewer maintenance department. We're taking in applications as they come in. I don't have a ton of people to interview right now, but we'll keep accepting applications, and when I get enough people on the list, I'll do some interviews and hopefully have some names for the board. The next one is a resolution to authorize the purchase of materials for the maintenance of the UV disinfection system at the wastewater treatment plant. This is our annual maintenance that we do on the equipment. The cost for the materials is $32,404.30. We do have a sole source letter from the supplier. It's the only place that we can buy the parts from, the manufacturer. And this was budgeted for. The next one is a resolution to authorize the maintenance on some sludge pumps that we have at the wastewater treatment plant. It's for the purchase of materials of $15,169.89. This is also from a sole source provider. The next one is a resolution to authorize the replacement of well pump number 4. Last week, we had issues with the well pump that is installed in well number 4 at the water treatment plant, and we need to hire a contractor to come in and remove the pump and replace it. I've gotten 2 quotes, and the low quote is $14,625. And I have money in various budget lines, which I'll have to do some budget modifications to be able to pay for this. But without this well, we would end up buying more water from the city of Schenectady, and I'd rather produce our own water.
What's the age of this pump?
I think it dates back to at least 5-6 years. The last time we did a well redevelopment. It's one of our larger producing wells. The next one is a resolution to award a contract for the annual post-closure monitoring at our landfill. It says transfer station, but it's at the landfill. This is DEC required monitoring that we do every year. We put out an RFP, and we'll be receiving quotes in the next few days. The way I structured the RFP, it was either for a year or as many as 3 years, based on how much the companies quote for the work. Sent out 4 different engineering companies for this. We'll hopefully award the contract at the end of the month, do the sampling and send it to the lab and have everything completed as required by the end of the year. The next one is a resolution to authorize payment for pavement repair on Knott Street. This is related to the water main break that we had earlier this year. I've been working with the county DPW to come up with limits of pavement that they need us to replace. I've talked and coordinated with them to come up with a smaller footprint, and I've gotten some pricing from contractors, but I'm trying to get a price under our bid that we do annually for paving. So I've got a price coming in from a contractor who is going to honor the pricing either from the town bidding that we do annually for paving or the county contract, which they have a piggyback clause. So it will be performed before the close of the paving season this year. So that's the reason why I want to use already existing bid prices to avoid having to go out to bid and extend the delay for the repair. But this will be a cost that we did not anticipate, so I will have to do some form of budget modification to pay for this.
Do we have like a ballpark on what that's going to cost?
I do, but I don't want to say it while I'm waiting for a price.
Got it. The other thing is, you said you wanted to try to finish the work before the end of the year.
Before the end of the paving season,
So
yeah.
like soon.
Yes,
Okay.
within the next month. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Could you just number 7, what does that entail again?
So we have monitoring wells all around the closed landfill, and we sample the groundwater for contaminants to make sure that nothing is leaching out of our well, our landfill. And all this information is provided to the DEC as part of the post-closure plan for the landfill. It's to go on forever. It's all part of having a closed landfill.
And is that the monitoring of the transfer station?
It's landfill. It's not transfer
Same?
station.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
That's it, right?
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. We're going to move on to Highway, Parks, and Recreation.
Number 9, a resolution to hire a grounds worker. We currently have 2 positions open, same as Matt. Applications dwindling in. We're reviewing. If I have a name or possibly 2 names, I'll get them to Elena by my deadline. Number 10, resolution authorize the agreement between the town of Niskuna and Schenectady County for mowing the green spaces, triangles, and Grand Boulevard. This is something we've been doing for years to make the entrance into the town nice, and so that's just an annual contract with them.
Do we currently have an annual
We
contract?
do.
Okay.
We do, and I think Elena did that with them last year. So it's going to stay the same. We got a rate increase last year, and normally when we negotiate it, we do 2 years at one rate, and then we can revisit.
Very good. Thank you.
She did a great job on that.
That'll be starting with the next season, right?
Huh?
That'll be starting in the spring, that contract?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
2025.
Yeah, We just try to do it by the first of the year because they're in the same boat as far as budgeting for that as well. Number 11, resolution to purchase a forklift. So we were able to find a used forklift, which we budgeted for this last year in our purchases. We budgeted 25,000 for a used forklift. We were able to find a used one at 19,350. Something that was usable for us, and we saved a little money. So that money will be coming back at the end of this season. So that was a good purchase. Ken, my part-time clerk, does a lot of work on this, a lot of negotiating with them and back and forth. So this forklift was originally priced at about 24,000, and he got us down to 19,350. So good work by him.
Good work.
Mhm. Very good.
Number 12 is a resolution to purchase a used street broom. So in the 2025 recommendations I put in for the purchase of a new broom, estimated cost of a new broom is $30,000. I worked with the supervisor to try to knock that number down a little bit, and we were able to come to a compromise. Actually, this is a unit that we rent every year. The cost of renting them has gone up. Actually, for what we pay in rent for the paving season, it pretty much covers the purchase. If we were to rent it for 2 years, it would cover the purchase. So these funds are in my budget, so I'm not asking for any money for this, and it literally frees up 30,000 from the 2025 budget. Number 13 is a resolution to surplus a vehicle in the Parks Department. So notified that the cabin chassis was made from this year's purchase. We hope to have that vehicle for winter operation. It still has to be upfitted, so we got a little time to wait, but the truck is made and at the dealer. So this is a good time to sell the surplus vehicle that we're going to be. It's a little premature. We usually don't do it till we get the new one, but I feel it'll bring the best revenues in now. Pre-plow season, it is an older dump truck with a plow on it. So to get a better return, I think we can do it. And if we have to go a little bit without it, we'll get through. We'll do what we have to do to ship things around. I think that's it for me.
Just a
Any
quick-
questions?
Just quickly, Ray, regarding the tree council proposal, or any thoughts on that, or is there any?
Well,
way
John, if I would have got a heads up on that whole presentation, maybe I would have something for you, but I think it's going to be a discussion for another day.
All right, I'm sorry to hear that we could have gotten to, but maybe we could parlay something with.
I met with the tree council and actually brought it to the point it is now, that they meet with the homeowners, try to educate them, try to teach them to water the trees, send their message to the people that we're servicing by planting trees.
Mhm.
I can tell you, traditionally, the most man hours in the whole highway department is spent on trees. So
That's-
over 6,000 hours a year on tree maintenance.
That's-
It's not all planning,
No,
and I
get it.
apologize for that, but
No, I get
we
it.
can only do so much.
I get it. And I think that's what I was trying to get at, is maybe getting somebody in, additionally in your department that also had that kind of job description, to kind of take on two roles, so to speak. I don't know if something like that is.
Actually, when I met with the tree council to get to where we are today, it was brought up about possibly finding some courses for my current tree guy. So my recommendation was train my current tree guy and one supervisor that can identify hazards and help mitigate what we're doing. So the little bit of groundwork that was there, it just didn't come to fruition yet. And, You know, I was willing to meet with them and try to work. I'm sorry it's not at the pace that they're desiring, but I do my best.
Listen, I want to thank you because I know everything kind of gets crammed into your department because you're out.
Thanks
there
for
on the
recognizing
streets, You're on the
that.
highways and we understand that. So I know you got a lot on your plate and that's another thing that it's kind of it's a big ask for
Yeah.
your department. So I
And
wanted-
they're what we came up with as a pilot program for them to put the stakes out. They're understanding what we go through as far as locations. I mean, you can have weeks invested and then your water and your sewer laterals are all in line and you can't plant the tree. There's not an alternative. So they understand now what we go through in the time that it takes to get it. And I thought we were on a good path. So
Excellent.
that'll be a discussion for another time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, number 14 is a resolution to hire a soccer referee. A name got dropped off of Julie's list, so we have one additional referee to add on for this month. And also I have an item from the floor. We were able to find a person who was interested in the position at the senior center. She accepted the position this week, so we're thrilled, and I'd like to get her on the resolution for the end of the month. And do you want me to just do these other two, Elena? Number 15 is a tentative resolution to authorize a license agreement with the Niskayuna Baseball Club. We had a meeting with them last week and we'd like to move forward with that. And 16 is a resolution to authorize an agreement with the Mohawk Hudson River Marathon Group. And that's for that marathon that's in shortly,
It's the 13th, right?
next week. Okay. And that's it. Anybody have any questions? No. Thank you.
Thanks, Lori. And we'll move on to the longest committee name ever, Economic Development, Historical Preservation, Environmental Conservation.
I just wanted to follow up on the tree council presentation. That is in no way, shape, or form a criticism of the highway department. I think the tree council finds them to be excellent to work with and has enjoyed the ability to work with them on planting the trees. The point of that presentation is that they do not have the resources to keep up with the plantings, and they're not making the presentation to the highway department because they know how hard the highway department works. They are making the presentation to you because the highway department needs the resources to tackle this project. They get spread thin across all kinds of things. And if we don't recognize that we aren't able to keep up with the trees, not through any particular reason, I submit the hours that the highway department works on trees, and we are a certified tree city because of the hours that the highway department works on the trees, and maintaining them is better than planting new ones. So no way, shape, or form a criticism of the highway department. Those guys work their butts off. We are still not keeping up with the trees. And that's what they really want to convey to you guys and have you guys work with them to tackle, if that makes sense.
It does.
So 17 is a resolution to make a secret determination and call for a public hearing on amendments to the zoning code as it relates to short-term rentals. We pulled this from the meeting at the last town board meeting because there's a couple concerns with it conflicting with some laws. One of our attorneys has been working on looking at some of those laws, and we're trying to schedule an internal meeting for this week so that it can be ready to call for a public hearing. I sent the seeker recommendation to you guys, and it's pretty simple. Right now, we do not have a code to regulate short-term rentals. They're unregulated. And so essentially the recommendation from the CAC is that it's a positive environmental impact. It does not have any negative impacts to the town because it's going to be protecting the character of the neighborhood, which currently we don't have any regulations for that. So the one concern they did have in there was that unintended consequences of the law may mean that if people are trying to provide on property parking, they may increase their impervious surface by creating larger driveways. So there's that little note from this CAC in there for you, but generally speaking, it was a unanimous recommendation that there's no environmental impact, and it may actually have a positive environmental impact on the town. If you have any questions when you read through that seeker determination, let me know. And this is a call for a public hearing, so you can still listen to what the residents want to have and adjust it after. But so we just want to make sure that we've got all of the laws addressed, and then call for a public hearing, and then see if you want to make any more tweaks after that.
And you said there's a meeting scheduled this week for that?
We're trying.
Okay.
We will know by tomorrow morning. Number 18 is a resolution to award a contract for construction plans for sidewalks. So we currently have 3 engineering firms bidding on engineering design for sidewalks on Cornelius, Birchwood, and Palmer. And there's currently funds in the budget that were not expended because we did not get the Climate Smart Communities grant. And through the American with Disabilities, the ADA funds. The goal from this contract would be that we are able to construct the Palmer Ave sidewalk with the ADA funding, and that we create shovel-ready projects for Cornelius and Birchwood, so that we'd be able to fund those with grant opportunities as they come out from state and federal governments.
Can I ask us maybe a silly question, because I don't have any experience with this? When we talk about planting trees along streets like that,
Mhm.
I assume that has a negative impact on the sidewalk maintenance. Is that true?
You mean like with roots upheaving the sidewalks?
I mean, that's how I think of Palmer, is kind of like, you know.
It depends on the tree and the width of the green space that it's being planted in, but it can. One of the trees locations that was staked out by the tree council in the spring, Pete Ravicka and his guys chainsawed in the ground 2 levels of roots between the sidewalk and the road, trying to find a planting space for a homeowner, and eventually had to give up because the roots were so thick there. So they can, but it also takes time for a tree to get big enough that the roots are going to impact a sidewalk.
Okay. I'm just thinking through that, because I think that's one of the reasons we're obviously replacing it, is because it is in such rough shape. So maybe even trying to plant trees, the replacement trees maybe don't have a root system that's going to grow as big. Just a thought that I had while I was looking at that presentation. I was thinking that's what happens to the sidewalks over time, but
Sometimes. So I have all 3 quotes in, and I will review them with probably Ray and Matt, and then let you guys know what our recommendation is for the regular meeting. Number 19 is a tentative resolution to adopt a new town logo. Marie Bosman and that group of people did their presentation, had the public hearing. We were thinking about it all of last month. Still hearing some comments on it, but our original timeline was to adopt it at the end of this month. So I guess we could just have that discussion or figure out what we want to do there.
I'm hoping we can have a resolution on for the meeting. I mean, I think that the committee did a very thorough job, and I don't think that we're ever going to have a logo that makes everybody happy. The purpose of the logo is to have something that's bold, that gives attention to it, and has some type of history to the town. And I think that this logo does that. So I certainly would like to see it go forward.
Well, I think the committee did an excellent job in putting all that together. But I guess my thought was that, the board would have been given some more choices in that regard. We at least a couple, maybe 3 or 4 different styles, if you will, of logo, or different options. And that's sort of also the impact that I'm getting from residents that speak to me about it. Everybody's very happy with the work that they did, the input that they got, felt that it was an all or nothing, and there was not any, other options, if you will, or presentations on different choices.
Yeah, I also heard, just like everyone else, a lot of concerns from residents about the logo. I don't know if there's a way to present the board with 2 or 3 choices, or have another, maybe present the public with 2 or 3 choices and have another public hearing about it. It's something that's so permanent, and there was such concern that it might be nice to look at some of those 3, like the 3 final choices that the committee had to choose from.
Is there a way we could do that?
Yeah, so I think at our last work group meeting, when we actually picked the design, I think we selected from 5.
Oh.
We may have narrowed it down to 3, but I think there were 5 sort of final ones that we were really picking between. I can talk to Marie, or if you want to talk to Marie and see if maybe she can redo the presentation, including all of those designs, and we can go from there. I know they were all very similar with colors, but the designs were different. So we can talk
Not
her out.
necessarily have to redo a presentation, but at least show us what these were. I do recall that there were some, but they were,
We started with, I think, 52 designs.
right,
and eventually
right.
narrowed it
But
down.
I do remember that it might have been more than 5 that we saw, but it'd be nice to kind of look at that again.
I can talk about that if you want, Laura, and see if you get it.
Yeah, I think just giving them next steps. They're very open. They just have been asking, and the original timeline was adoption at the end of this month. So I think if maybe the board could give some clarity to them at the end of this meeting, and then they can come back with the next task that you choose, if that's bringing back some of the designs for everybody to look at. Or the one thing that I don't think they would be able to do without an increase in budget is actually,
Go back.
when they were looking at the sketches, they had sketches, I believe, of 5, but they never actually took a full, I think you'd probably have to put a little more money in the logo contract to fully design additional choices. I think they're sketches of the other ones.
I'd have to look back at the presentations and see. So I think when we were still in the 20s, it was just sketches.
Mm-hmm.
I think we added color to maybe the last
Couple of
I wanna
them.
say 10, maybe 8 or 10. We did have quite a few that were in color. I can see if Marie can even email that to the board, and we can go from there as a board and see what we want to do at the end of the month.
Why don't we make that the next step?
Great.
And then really, as we said, that $3,000 is rolling over into next year. So if in fact we needed more budget to hash out something else, we know it's there. It's either going to be used to switch things over or to redo the design. So we'll start with just
Start with
kind
that,
of
and then
looking.
we can see how we want to.
Okay.
After we see those designs.
So we'll touch base with Marie. We'll look at some designs, figure out what the best next steps are depending on what they look like. And by the end of the week, hopefully,
Yeah, and then decide whether or not you want to have the reso at the end of the month, or look at more alternatives and bring the reso back at another date. I'm a John. For the record, I was hiking this weekend and I saw 2 blue herons in the town of Niskuna. So they're out there.
thanks, Laura.
Yep.
And police and public safety.
Good evening, everyone. Watch your foot. Number 20 is a resolution to authorize the purchase of LPR Technologies. We spoke about it in the finance meeting. It is my recommendation through the law enforcement technology grant that we got to make a purchase through Motorola Solutions that would total $176,730. That would include giving us overlay software with our current camera system in our cars to make them mobile RPRs as well. Do you have any questions or further discussion on that? Okay. Number 21 is a resolution to accept the Governor's Traffic Safety Grant Funds. This is something we apply for every single year to give us overtime monies for more directed enforcement in traffic engagement. I'm happy to say that this year we also applied for a little bit extra, $2,250 of the total $15,270 through the PTS portion of the Governor's Traffic Safety Committee grant, is actually going to buy us a new radar. We're going to buy a new radar for one of our vehicles. So that is something we were going to need to purchase anyways, because we always want to upgrade those technologies if we can. And it's going to be funded with grant monies. So that's great news. The CPS grant, which is a Child Passenger Safety Program grant, that total is $2,850 as well. So the total grant award between the two is somewhere in the neighborhood of almost $18,000, which is great. And great work. Just a shout out to Lieutenant Frenier and Detective Munger for working on that. Number 22 is a resolution authorizing oxygen forensic detective license and tool. This is again what we spoke about. We did get 2 quotes on this, one through Celebrate, the second through Oxygen Forensics. It is the recommendation of both Detective Munger and Detective Kafaga, who worked on these things extensively, to go with the Oxygen Forensics tool. That total is going to be $12,142.25. Again, that's going to be purchased with grant funding through the Law Enforcement Technology Grant. And then lastly, number 23 is a resolution to authorize the upfitting of 2 police vehicles. We did receive our budgeted for 2 Ford Explorer patrol vehicles today from Metro Ford. We are looking to upfit both these vehicles. It's going to be a little bit, it is budgeted for in this current budget cycle. We have the funds for this. It's more than it was previously because we're going to be buying all new equipment for one of the vehicles. Traditionally, what we do is we transfer over from year to year. We're recognizing the need to keep one of our patrol vehicles a little bit longer because we're seeing that as we cycle them out, because we have a traffic community engagement division now, along with a complement of patrol officers, that we're going through vehicles and having to cycle them out a little bit more often for maintenance. So rather than auctioning one of our vehicles that we would traditionally for next year, we're going to hang on to it as sort of a backup and a spare. So we're going to put all new equipment in one of these vehicles. So between the 2 vehicles to upfit, it's going to be $26,930.49. Does anybody have any questions about that? That's going to be through Specialized Vehicle Upfitting, who does all of our upfitting so that we have a continuity of the same technologies and equipment in the vehicles. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Chief Koshin. Do we typically, oh, here we go. Finance and General Government.
We have a tentative resolution to appoint a controller. And we also have a resolution to authorize certain budgetary modifications.
That
This is going to be the
that was
easiest part of my night.
exciting.
Any questions?
All right. Are we good? Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. We have a special meeting. Let me find my next pack of papers. Okay.